Ada for allowing my kid to do nothing in music class at school? Context: my kid was a micropreemie and has a mild developmental delay that manifests in vision tracking, fine motor, and auditory processing difficulties. It sometimes takes him a minute to process an instruction or verbal direction. His music teacher, in kindergarten, nicknamed him Old Man Kid's name because it would take him a while to figure out what he was supposed to do. I didn't know about the nickname until 3rd grade when he told me because he said it made him feel bad. I reached out to the music teacher and my kid's teacher and explained that my kid didn't like it and would appreciate just being addressed by his name. The music teacher didn't address it or apologize, he just stopped using the nickname. My kid is now in 5th grade. I just got his report card and the music teacher has given him all ones the lowest grade and wrote that my kid didn't like never participates. I don't care. I am not going to talk to my kid about it or encourage him to participate because I think the music teacher is a bully and bad at his job. It's his fault. My kid, who actually loves music and plays the drums and piano recreationally at home, hates his class and won't participate. The music teacher hasn't used the nickname since I wrote the email 2 years ago. Am I holding a grudge and failing to teach my kid responsibility?
ATA for going to a wedding on Mother's Day weekend.
I 19F have divorced parents.
I live with my mom mostly while I go to school and go to my dad's house on the weekends.
This upcoming weekend is Mother's Day as well as a wedding for someone related to my dad's wife.
I really love their family and was super excited to hear about the wedding.
All my cousins are going who I am super close with, and we would all get to spend time together in the hotel as the wedding is in a different city.
It's only 2 hours away, so we would leave Friday and come back early Sunday morning.
I had already bought a dress since it's a very fancy wedding.
But my mom made me aware it's Mother's Day weekend and told me I am not allowed to go since we have to spend the whole weekend with her.
I really want to go, and I would make sure to be back Sunday to spend the day with her. My dad is saying it's fine since she had kept us from him on Father's Day before, but I don't want to be selfish. I already got her a gift and would walk in Sunday morning with balloons and flowers.
So ATA if I went to the wedding.
ATA for refusing to let my daughter's fiancé stay in our guest room because I use it for my hobby.
So I am 14, I might be in the wrong here, but I honestly don't think I am, and would love to hear outside perspectives.
My daughter 23F got engaged recently and came to visit us with her fiancé 24M.
We live a few states away, so I get that traveling is tiring, but we were happy to host for the weekend. Now I've had my guest room set up for my miniature wargaming for the past few years. It's my space where I go to decompress after work, and it's honestly the only spot in the house that's fully mine.
My wife has the sunroom, and the rest of the house is kind of communal.
I've got thousands of dollars of models in there, custom terrain, a 3D printer setup, etc.
It's not just a hobby, it's an investment and frankly, a form of art. Anyway, when they arrived I had the office couch made up for them, pull-out, memory foam, decent blankets, very clean.
My daughter seemed fine with it, but her fiancé kind of made a face and later asked why they couldn't just sleep in the guest room.
I told him plainly it wasn't available because it's not a guest room anymore.
It's my studio. Later that night, my daughter confronted me privately and said I was being selfish and ridiculous and that it's just for 2 nights.
She said they felt unwelcome and like I was prioritizing plastic figurines over family.
I told her that's not fair, they have a place to sleep.
It's not like I made them sleep on the floor.
Now my wife is giving me the cold shoulder and said I could have just packed it up for a weekend, but again, it's not like these are toys you throw in a box. Some of them are fragile.
Some are half-painted.
I don't want to spend days reorganizing and then undoing all that work just because they didn't like the setup.
They left a day early, and now I'm getting texts from my daughter about how I chose my hobby over her happiness, which just seems dramatic to me.
I might be the a-hole because maybe I could have moved some stuff around for a few nights, but I really don't think it's fair to expect me to dismantle my entire setup just because someone didn't want to sleep on a perfectly good pull-out.
I have a right to my space too, right?
ATA for refusing to take my turn hosting family dinners after everyone always bails on mine.
Our 24F come from a family that values big Sunday dinners, and we've always rotated between whose house we gather at.
The idea is that everyone contributes by hosting one of these dinners, but recently, it feels like I'm the only one actually holding up my end of the bargain. Every time it's my turn to host my siblings, and even my parents seem to come up with last-minute excuses to skip. The last time I prepared a full meal, my sister cancelled an hour before because she wasn't feeling well, and my brother had work stuff.
I spent hours prepping and even made special dishes that everyone usually loves.
This has happened several times now, and I'm starting to feel like my effort isn't being appreciated.
Last week, it was my mom's turn to host, and everyone showed up. No excuses, no last-minute cancellations. Now my turn is coming up again, and I don't feel like going through all the effort when no one ever shows up. When I told my family that I was thinking of skipping my turn and letting someone else host, they got upset. My dad said I was being dramatic and that it's just how family is sometimes, but I can't help but feel like I'm always the one getting the short end of the stick.
Eta for refusing to host family dinners when no one ever shows up to mine.
Eta for telling one of my professor that how I look and my body weight is none of his concern.
Hello, it's been a couple of days since this incident.
Basically, few students were attending this professor's class as it's a side subject.
We were 6 people there, 3 from different course.
In a random discussion, he started talking about appearances and how it affects someone's personality as well. It was all okay until he started pointing out each of us and talked about how we looked.
For everyone, he said you're okay. Nothing wrong. You're absolutely fine. But when it was me, he said, "Oh, you're okay. Jog a little. You look depressing and sad." It was awkward.
Everything I interacted with this professor, I have been nothing but cheerful and respectful towards him.
What he said felt humiliating.
I'm pretty overweight and I don't mind criticism.
But this was IMO uncalled for.
Out of anger and humiliation, I replied, with my looks and body weight doesn't define how I actually am, should not be anyone's or your concern, even though I said that.
I kinda feel terrible, and I think I overreacted in this interaction.
I cater for talking back to a professor like that.
Edit. Thank I owe everyone for the support and advices.
Means a lot to me and I appreciate you all.
Don't feel bad about it anymore and will definitely try my best to report the situation.
And few 2-3 PPL in comments were calling me lazy and having no discipline and to hit gym. Judging before knowing anyone only based on appearance and how their body are.
You're exactly like that professor.
You prove my point, Ankayo.
Am I the a-hole for checking my ex out after he cheated on me? I 22F used to date my boyfriend 23M. The relationship was great at first. We would talk every day and go on dates a lot, etc. The first red flag I should have noticed was on the day he asked me to be his girlfriend. He got a call from his girl best friend, who we will call Emma. She started complaining that he didn't call her that day, and he instantly started apologizing and completely blanked me for 5 minutes. At the time I found it a bit odd but didn't think much of it. I soon found out she is oddly obsessive over my ex and would always complain about how he wasn't spending enough time with her. A couple months went by with these calls becoming more and more frequent, and one day I got a text from him saying he was working late and he might just visit Emma as she lives close by. For context, she lives about a 2-minute walk from the hospital at where he works. He said that I shouldn't expect him to come home anytime soon. A couple days went by and I assumed they hooked up multiple times. I was heartbroken. However, yesterday he rang my doorbell saying he didn't have any place to stay in, which I promptly replied no and shut the door in his face. I made sure that my friend would fail the biology class. This was in high school. I had this friend who I had met in our 3rd year. He was alright except for the times when he was super effing annoying. I sat in front of him, in the back row of the class. He would sometimes just say something like "let's go" and then hit the back of my head. I tolerated it the first few times as I didn't want to make a big deal out of it and I thought he would just move on. But he just didn't. I would tell him to back the F off and he would for a few days or a week, but then he would start again. We almost got into a fight about it. He was also not the brightest pupil. From what I remember, he either failed math or just barely survived, same with chemistry and English. For some exams, I would charge him money to allow him to cheat off my paper. Mind you, these were also IB classes. Anyway, it was the finals and we had a biology exam. Since the other exam was really hard, they made this one a test to make it easier. He was of course just on the edge of failing in bio as well, so he asked me, "Can I cheat off your paper?" I said sure and told him, "Since I don't want you to fail, this one is on me." Throughout the exam, while taking the test, I would look at the question, take note of the right answer, and then put the wrong answer on the answer sheet. Except for some of the easy questions, of course. After he finished his exam, I knew he would just sleep, so when he did, I changed my answers to the right ones. After the exam, he even told me that he answered one of the questions differently than mine as he thought I did it wrong. Later I learned that the question he answered himself was one of those easy questions I did correct so that he wouldn't notice anything suspicious. He got the question wrong. He failed, and I didn't come in the day that they gave our papers back, and when he asked me what grade I got, I just told him my score was horrible. He got something in the 30-20s I think, while I got something in the 90s. He was already in trouble with the school as he would constantly get called into meetings and they would advise him to either get his grades higher or he should just quit IB. So after that last fail in bio, and his fails in numerous other classes, he ended up quitting IB in his 4th year. And that also meant he wasn't in our class anymore, so peace at last, I guess. BTW for anyone who might ask why I didn't just change seats, the class already had a general seating chart, so moving would just cause everyone a whole lot of trouble and resentment.
I'm leaving my husband M33 and now he's love bombing me F32 constantly. Any advice to distance myself from him through this process? My husband has been repeatedly cheating on me on and off for the last 3 years, including my entire pregnancy, which was extremely high risk and stressful. I thought he was really there for me, but right after birth is when I learned he'd been using Reddit actually to try to hook up with strangers. He's also, according to my therapist, exceptionally emotionally abusive and controlling. Looking back, I now understand his actions were about control, including telling me not to talk to my family about our issues and isolating me from all of my friends over the last few years. Since I told him I want a divorce, he has been trying to work on himself and be a better man with a relationship with God, which I hope is true for his own sake. He has been begging every single day multiple times a day for me to give him a chance, even though I've given him 6 years, and 2 chances after catching him cheating, and even bowing up to me during a fight saying he doesn't know if he would hit me, but I don't respect him enough, and in the past women that weren't respectful to their husbands got slapped around. I'm dead set on a divorce. I've hired a lawyer. I have the initial petition, but he's kind of delusional, thinking if he's nice enough it'll all work out no matter what, and so he's been love bombing me constantly and he's like Velcro attached to me. Does anyone have any advice on how to handle this part of the separation? The clingy part, the promising the world part, because his love bombing is so overwhelming. I'm having panic attacks at 5:30 in the morning because he will not leave me alone. Please help. Folded light.
My brain still can't comprehend what just happened.
Hey people,
Have you ever had a WTF? Did this actually just happen moment?
This happened to me a few days ago, and I still can't believe it. I'm 46M and I work for a large Canadian grocery chain.
So my co-workers are a wide range of age groups, from teenagers working their first jobs to people close to retirement.
There's this one young woman, 22, and although we work in different departments, we generally work the same shifts. I'll just call her Sarah, obviously not her real name. She started working about a year or so ago.
Let me say she's a very good-natured person.
Always a smile and loves to chat with everyone.
She's polite to customers and is very good at her job. Sarah and I have what I would describe as casual work friendship. By that I mean we don't socialize with each other outside of work.
We don't follow each other on social media platforms, nor do we have each other's personal contact information.
If we happen to run into each other outside of work, it's mostly just a "hey, how's it going?" or similar greeting, which what makes recent events all the more surprising. It was a Friday, and I was on my lunch break. Our store has a small picnic table area located in the back of the building.
Staff generally used it as the designated smoking area.
Being a non-smoker, I generally don't go there, but the weather was pretty good,
And I was kinda wanting some fresh air anyways.
I was leaning back enjoying the sun when the back door opened and Sarah came out.
She sat down beside me, we exchanged hellos and some small talk.
Okay, thank you for reading this far.
I promise my story starts to get interesting from here on.
I asked Sarah what she was working on today, and she mentioned that she was mostly cleaning and stocking.
She then said that she had just spent the last 50 minutes cleaning inside the walk-in freezer. She then blurts out,
OMG, my nipples are still so hard here. Feel before I had completely processed what she had said.
She grabbed my hand and put it directly on her right breast.
Can you feel that? You know those scenes in movies where everything slows down?
That's what happened to me.
In my mind, 30 seconds passed, but in actuality it was probably less than 5.
I pulled my hand back, leaped up and stammered, "WTF was that?"
I remembered she had a generally confused look on her face.
She casually replied, "Oh, relax, don't act like you've never touched a boob before." I let out a nervous half-laugh and replied, "No, but I wasn't expecting that." Actually, it kinda stumbled those words out.
She let out a little giggle and said, OMG, you're blushing a little. It's just a boob. Don't worry about it. You're not upset, are you?
No, I replied.
She just smiled and said, anyways, I need to use the washroom. See you later. She then walked back inside.
Now I didn't tell anyone at work what happened.
I'm not in a relationship of any kind, so I'm not harboring any type of guilt over it.
I've actually kinda been laughing to myself about this now.
I still sometimes think maybe I was just sleeping and I dreamt about this. But no, it actually happened.
So Reddit people,
Maybe someone out there smarter than me could shed some light on this.
Is this a new normal thing among young people these days? Like boob touching is the new fist bump or something?
My college roommate found me hitting my bong on the porch. My college roommate, and one of my closest friends since childhood, found me hitting my bong on the porch when he got home. I've always known he wouldn't be willing to try it, which I respect, so I've never done it around him. Both of my roommates have known I smoked occasionally since last year, but I never told them I have weed or bong at our apartment now. I know I should have asked them if they were okay with me keeping it here before I did, but it's too late now. I told him sorry I didn't know he was coming home at that time, and he said he didn't mind. I'm still worried things are going to be awkward though. We didn't really get to talk about it. He got home late and went to bed right away. How should I bring it up? Should I bring it up?
My girlfriend stole my weed 28M30F. This is my first post ever and I don't want to get into my life or much into my relationship for privacy, but I'm really looking for some unbiased advice and I'm uncomfortable going to a friend. The other day I caught my GF of 2 years stealing a gram or two of weed from me, and when I asked she lied about it. For context, I've always been a guy that is wanting and willing to share bud/everything I have in life, whether it be a bite of a sandwich or my last cigarette. Overall, my point and question is that I love her and don't want to lose her, but every instinct in me says to break up with her simply due to the violation of trust. How does this work? Need advice. 18F20M. Met this girl through a friend at a get-together 2 weeks ago. She liked me a lot then, we hit it off strong, had a great time that weekend. Talked a lot via text that week. Went on first date alone Friday, it seemed to go very well, we both had fun and communicated that. After Friday I noticed her communication dropped way off. Leaves me on delivered hours on end, dry responses, doesn't ask about me and shows little affection. She has clearly said multiple times she wants another date though. She's very busy with school sports and friends, but still big change. Last night I tried to solidify plans for the second date after she said she definitely wants to. She left me undelivered. I told her just to call me when she finds the time so we can make plans. I figured I'm totally done engaging with her until she shows initiative. Did I make the right move? Not sure if she's losing interest, playing mind games, just that busy, or maybe a combination. Thanks for any help. Hate the mixed messages.
TIFU by pooping my pants in public on my birthday.
I 27F today is my birthday, have tummy troubles, meaning I poop my pants on the regular.
I have had this little issue for about a year and a half that no matter what I eat, when or where, I get sick almost immediately.
I don't throw up, I poop hot chocolate milk sometimes within 30 seconds of eating.
It truly doesn't matter what I eat.
I have lost around 55 pounds in the last year due to this issue.
I have been to several doctors and even travelled out of state to see a gastroenterologist that is supposed to be the best of the best.
No one can figure out what's wrong with me.
But I try to look at the bright side that I can eat pretty much whatever and the calories don't count.
So today, I was feeling pretty good because it's my birthday and I have a fun evening planned with my family.
I own a small business, so I plan to have today off to enjoy and decided to make a Sam's Club run.
I thought I'd make use of my free Starbucks birthday drink and got myself just a plain iced tea, nothing special, just tea because I didn't want to worry about my stomach, as drinks that aren't dairy-based usually don't cause issues. I got my drink, took a few sips and made a quick run into the store with my 2.5-year-old son. On my way in, I feel that familiar gurgle in my stomach and knew I had about 30 seconds to make it to the bathroom because a hot chocolate volcano erupts. I skip the cart and begin to carry my toddler quickly to the bathroom.
Then we get stuck behind a lady I can only describe as being exactly aisle wide and moving at a snail's pace. She was talking on her grandma flip phone on speaker because of course she was, and couldn't hear me try to excuse myself to squeeze by.
Then it happened.
I pooped my pants except I wasn't wearing pants.
It's my birthday and I decided to wear a cute floral sundress.
I could have passed away. Now, to the credit of my Hanes granny panties, nothing was obvious yet.
I forced my way through the aisle around Java the Hut and made it to the ladies' room.
Something worth mentioning is that my son was recently diagnosed as being OCD. He gives every object in our home and on our person an owner, meaning if you always wear the same hat, he will absolutely break down if someone else puts the hat on. Well, I made it to a stall and proceeded to put an end to the business and slide my underwear off, wrap them in paper and throw them in the sanitary box. As I clean myself up, my toddler starts screaming, crying, wailing, and is rolling on the bathroom floor because Mommy's panties were thrown away. I was still on the John, trying to calm him down as he has never had one of these OCD breakdowns in public, with my ass still dripping in hot fudge. Of course there had to be multiple people coming in and out of the bathroom while this happened. We finished our shopping trip with a wet, hand-washed bottom half of a dress and no underwear, and a child crying Mommy's panties all the way through the store.
But at least the calories didn't count, I guess.
It could have been worse. TLDR, I pooped myself in Sam's Club and my OCD toddler had a breakdown due to my disposed soiled underwear.
TIFU by sitting in my neighbor's shed. TW 8-legged freaks. I'm a massive arachnophobe. My neighbor has a shed with sofas, music, etc. set up and I popped in earlier, even made a joke about how spiders always seem to find me. He said he cleaned it out earlier and got rid of webs, etc. So I chill for a couple of hours, so fast forward and I'm in my house and one of my cats start pawing at the clothes I wore today which were on my bedroom floor. Sloppy, I know. For context, she's RLY good at finding them but not much else. Welp, I knew. I knew straight away, and I was praying to the gods above it wasn't a large one. Spoiler, it is one of the ugliest and largest I've ever seen, so I go get my cup whilst freaking Cassiano, can't have him running around, and I trap him. Great, right? Wrong. Because now I got chills running down my spine and shivers, and the threat of hyperventilating as this angry mofo is running around this glass in all its glory, all angry like. I gathered my courage, nearly sent myself into a panic attack and moved all of the clothes, blanket I used outdoors and the offending visitor into the kitchen and shut the door. Can anyone help, cause I'm freaking right out. What if there's more? What if there's one in my hair? What if it brought a whole army? I'm sat in bed, knackered, but too scared to sleep. TLDR. Chilled in my neighbor's shed, bought home a large spider and am now too freaked to sleep.
TIFU telling my 8th grade teacher don't drop the soap. Okay, so didn't happen today, but back when IF27 was in 8th grade.
When IF27 was in 8th grade, I had overheard a kid snickering and say the line, "Don't drop the soap," and people laugh, so I thought it was a reference to a movie or something.
I, thinking it would be a riot to say this to my teacher, not knowing what it meant, said it to him, who was a fairly older gentleman, probably about 50-something.
His face twisted and asked me if I knew what that meant.
I shook my head no and said I had overheard someone else say it. And he, in his best attempt at being PG, tried to hint at what it meant by saying something along the lines of bending over in front of another while showering. Well, and I eventually picked it up and was just mortified. I still think about it to this day. Sorry, mister.
Lagrange TLDR, told teacher, don't drop the soap before I knew what it meant.
Ater for not paying first month's rent to some girls I was going to move in with. For context, I'm a 24F, and I moved to a new state with my parents a few months ago. I was thinking about moving out, so I joined a local roommate Facebook group. I came across a post that 2 girls posted, and they seemed like we'd get along really well, which we do. Their 3rd roommate was moving out, and I decided I was going to move in. I do have a lot of debt, but I was just planning on trying to make it work. My parents offered for me to stay with them for another year so I wouldn't be struggling, and could pay down a lot of my debt/save money. I was torn on what to do. I hadn't signed a lease yet, and I ended up ultimately deciding to stay with my parents for another year so I wouldn't be struggling. I let them know I wasn't going to be moving in a couple days ago, and rent is due on the 1st. According to them, they will have to cover the 3rd portion of June if they don't find someone before then. They asked me very passive-aggressively if I would pay my portion of the 1st month's rent, and I don't know what to do. I feel like that's unfair, and I really don't want to pay over $1,000 for nothing in return. Again, I never signed a lease. The landlord did not ask me to pay, the other tenants did. So, am I the a-hole for not paying the 1st month of rent?
Ater for telling a pregnant woman to eating loudly. I feel context is really important here. I was in a day-long seminar today with people in the same profession as me. I greeted the 2 people sitting either side of me, and so far things are going well. We're chatting and getting to know each other.
Sometime after our morning tea break, and maybe 10 minutes before our lunch break, the woman next to me takes out a big bag of nuts and starts to eat. I have misophonia, an extreme, physical and nervous response to hearing eating noises.
I cannot be in close quarters with someone who is eating loudly without having feeling uncontrollable, irate, and overstimulated.
Normally in these situations I would excuse myself and take some deep breaths somewhere quiet. However, in this circumstance, in a quiet education setting that I paid money to attend so I can learn from the speaker, and knowing we were close to our lunch break, I felt like it was inappropriate.
Because it wasn't just a few nuts that I could probably have put up with, it was a consistent chewing and crunching for an extended period of time.
So I leaned over and whispered, "I'm sorry, eating noises really stress me out and I can't focus." She didn't respond, however she did stop eating for the 5 minutes remaining before the break.
When it was time for the break, I apologized again and tried to explain about misophonia. She responded by saying she wouldn't normally eat, but she's pregnant, and then walked off. Okay, so fair, I know that first trimester you need to eat frequently throughout the day, or you might feel sick.
I actually did feel a bit bad about the situation. The rest of the seminar was incredibly uncomfortable as all friendly small talk and chatter ceased and I was given the cold shoulder the rest of the day.
She left without saying goodbye or acknowledging me.
So Ater, when I didn't know she was pregnant,